Democrats are looking to get back in action after their brutal election loss, with the new DNC chair insisting his party is still alive and kicking.
We're not dead as a party. We're still alive and kicking, and we're going to fight for our values, and we're going to fight for American values. And we're on the side of hardworking men and women who just want the country to not forget about them, to make sure that we are centering their lives and focusing again on making the American dream real for all Americans.
But the party faces quite the dilemma, with voters seeing Democrats putting social issues ahead of economic problems. So how can they regain America's trust? Democratic strategist and pollster Doug Schoen joins us now. Hey, Doug. Good morning.
Hey, Ainsley. How are you?
I'm doing well. What do you think of that message? Do you think the Democratic Party is dying?
Well, I don't think it's dying, but it sure isn't doing much to reclaim its position or to resuscitate its brand. Fundamentally, I think the party should be cooperating with President Trump, where the issues he's taking on, like immigration, have broad public support, the economy, where broad public support, reducing the size of government. You can differ with the president on substance, where in fact that is in line with party principles. But to just oppose him and just fight him proved to be a recipe for failure in the last election, and we're facing the consequences, Ainsley, of that right now.
Yeah, Doug, let me show you an example, because Politico has a great article talking about how the Democrats are miscalculating this, how they're complaining about Elon Musk and DOGE, and DOGE is just cutting wasteful spending. And they're saying Americans, they don't like it when we're giving our money to foreign countries. We would rather cut that. The Democrats are up in arms, though, about what Elon Musk is doing. Watch this.
We are at war! What's happening right now is a hostile takeover of the U.S. government.
All of those accesses are cut off. So we might actually see somebody get killed.
I'm going to tell you right now, people are going to die in very large numbers around the world who are expecting the United States to live up to our promises, to get them medicine, to get them help.
If this were happening in any other country right now, I promise you, I'd be on the air calling it a coup.
Doug, when I see that, I see fear-mongering. And then I hear Donald Trump and I see what he's doing, and I think common sense. And I think this progressive message of focusing on the wrong thing, on all these social issues versus the economy, was a mistake for the Democrats. What do you think?
Well, Ainsley, you make a number of points. Let me take them up. First, Americans want a smaller government. That is undeniable. Second, it is entirely appropriate to say to President Trump, we don't think we need to cut a third of the budget. We don't need to eliminate the number of employees he is talking about with Elon Musk talking about reducing. But there is clear desire to reduce the size of government, and internationally, the scope of foreign aid is almost certainly too broad and less targeted to where our friends and allies are. I think we Democrats do a much better job looking at the policies and offering alternative visions and alternative policies, rather than, as you rightly put it, Ainsley, fear-mongering, scaring people, and engaging in reckless hyperbole.
Doug, what is your message for Ken Martin, the new DNC chair?
Focus on working people, focus on job creation, education that gives people the opportunity to get training for the jobs that exist, get inflation down, and work constructively, as Bill Clinton did with the Republicans after the 1994 election, so that there is a consensus of Americans supporting goals we all support, not supporting the extreme left-wing cultural agenda that you put up on the screen that people believe the Democrats do support.
Yeah, I mean, Doug, I'm listening to Maxine Waters and Chuck Schumer, and they're just screaming at the podium. What do you make of the Democrats' message? Is it working?
Ainsley, with all due respect, I don't think there is a message. I think their message is hate and fear and opposition, a message that failed. I think they need to do a retrospective on the election and come up with a broad centrist agenda that takes the best of what the present administration is doing, offer alternative policies to arguably strengthen those policies, make them more efficient and more in line with what the American people, and particularly working people of color, those without high school, college educations want, we'll be much better off doing that rather than hate, division, polarization, and fear-mongering.
Doug, will you stay in the party?
I am in the party for now. I lean independent. I hope I can come back to the Democratic Party as I did when Bill Clinton moved to the center. But these are very much open questions, Ainsley.
Doug, thank you so much for coming on. Always great to see you.
Great to see you. Thanks.
Thank you.
His team, Musk's team, have saved the federal government more than $1 billion a day through efforts like cancellation of federal building leases, contracts related to DEI. And although they have some other specifics, he's got his team of engineers that have helped balance budgets in his other companies working right now. They're looking at absolutely everything. Musk is also studying the works of the GSA, which manages federal properties. Officials discussed a plan to eliminate 50% of expenditures. Why do Democrats feel as though, I know there's some that's always going to fight him, but why do they feel as though they were on board with DOGE in theory until they actually started doing things? Then they all jumped off the bandwagon and started rallying around that fearless leader, Maxine Waters.
All Elon wants to do is cut our spending. You work really hard, right? Wouldn't you rather that money stay in the United States? There's a lot of foreign aid going for just junk, like the $20 million on Sesame Street shows in Iraq. Do you want to pay for that? The $11 million to tell Vietnam to stop burning trash. Do you want to pay for that? It's just wasteful spending.
So
we all work too hard.
You're exactly right. And they seem tone deaf when they're advocating for more aid when the American people here are suffering from different crises. The reporting on this and the backlash has been totally wrong. The way they're putting it is that Elon is on some island and he's just doing all of this himself. No. The office is doing this, is in the executive office, and he calls the president and tells the president, okay, this is what I found. And then he says, the president said, cut it, get rid of it.
Right.
And then Elon goes back to the president, he goes, are you sure, sir? Do you really want this to happen? He goes, yes. But the way that they're spinning it is totally inaccurate.
Well, and, you know, if you went out on the street and you did a poll about, okay, if we're going to cut the federal bureaucracy, because we know it's bloated and we know there is a lot of waste, where should you just start? Polls have shown historically that you start with foreign aid because it's simply because the federal bureaucracy is already unpopular. But by sending the money that we make here in the United States over there for who knows what,
Steve,
you know, it just misses the mark.
did you see Maxine Waters? Did you see Chuck Schumer? These Democrats are having a meltdown about saving money. Listen to this.
Let's go for this.
We have to fight this in the courts. We have to fight this in the Congress. We have to fight this in the streets. Stop the coup. Stop the grift. Stop Elon Musk. Shut down the Senate. We are at war. Anytime a person can pay $250 million into a campaign and they be given full access to the Department of Treasury, we are at war.
We have convened here in the right place, the Treasury Department. We have got to tell Elon Musk, nobody elected you.
Did anybody vote for a government of billionaires for billionaires? Are you ready to stand up and defend our democracy? Yeah! What we're in the face of right now is an authoritarian takeover of our country, and we say hell no!
Right now, our budget, federal deficit in 2024, we're $1.8 trillion over. So $1.8 trillion, and you're upset that people are trying to get the budget in order? Do you know, the one thing President Trump said, which is hamstrung him, he said, I'm not touching Social Security and don't touch Medicare. So he said, all right, we're going to take a look at everything that's going out. They estimated that Joe Biden wasted $220 billion worth of fraud just last year alone as he was leaving out the door. They're saving $1 billion a day.
I'd rather have the person that was the richest man in the world. Isn't he the richest man in the world, Elon? I'd rather him oversee it than the people that came into Congress broke and all of a sudden they have all this money.
Like Maxine Waters.
Well, where did all the money come from?
When you think of it, though, I mean, the Democrats are aligned with the federal employee unions. And, you know, all of this threatens a lot of the union members and stuff like that. What I would have loved to have heard any one of those Democrats in that soundbite montage, I would have loved to have heard them say, None of your money is being wasted. All your tax dollars are being spent well. They cannot because they're through the years, they've come up with programs. Some of them are obsolete. Some of them, have absolutely no bearing in today's society. And it's like, we still have the money on the books. Elon Musk is just looking at it with a magnifying glass or a super AI or a genius young engineer, as we heard yesterday, trying to figure out, okay, what can we get rid of?
Steve, you're right. AI, he's putting AI over the budget. That's right. And he's trying to use the artificial intelligence to point it out. I would just say, when you said through the years, I almost thought you were going to sing Kenny Rogers.
Through the
because that,
years.
like you always say to yourself, I feel like he's always, when you say that, he's singing to me.
I miss him.
Yeah.
When you look at these numbers, though, think about all the people. A lot of people don't pay taxes because they don't make enough money, right, to pay taxes. They're working really hard. They're trying to put food on the table. When you hear that we're spending $45 million for DEI in Burma.
Stupid.
How can the Democrats not... How can they say...
But they were all in. The
this?
Democrats over the last 4 years have been all in on DEI. So it's not only we're spending it here, but they're spending it around the world because they believe they were on the right side of that.
This also goes to the point, for years, how many times have we heard people in Washington say, we're going to cut spending. We're going to get rid of the waste, fraud, and abuse. This has completely changed the game on this. This is the way to do it. And I just hope, to my friends in the Freedom Caucus, and I love and respect many of you, and I know you guys have different missions at place, but this is the way to get things done right here. Don't resist the overall budget. What Elon, he's doing the legwork for you. He's finding all the ways, fraud and abuse, and getting rid of it right now. That way you can support the legislature, but you're going to have one shot at one bill.
How do Americans view the Democratic Party, according to Quinnipiac? 57% find that party unfavorable. Only 31% find it favorable. So we asked Doug Schoen, who is a former Clinton advisor, Democratic strategist. We asked him if he's going to stay in the party. And he said, for now he is, but he said it's not the party that it used to be.
He grew up with.
Exactly. Here he is.
With all due respect, I don't think there is a message. I think their message is hate and fear and opposition, a message that failed. I think they need to do a retrospective on the election and come up with a broad centrist agenda that takes the best of what the present administration is doing, offer alternative policies to arguably strengthen those policies, make them more efficient and more in line with what the American people, and particularly working people, people of color, those without high school, college educations want. We'll be much better off doing that rather than hate, division, polarization, and fear-mongering.
They're going to have to justify every one of the programs. Instead of just saying the federal government's too big, no one has control over it, you have a guy in there trying to get control over it. Farouk Kahana, Jared Moskowitz, Tom Suozzi all said, count me in, I'll help. Now they're afraid to come out because lunatics like Maxine Waters and Chuck Schumer are promising to fight. And they're saying, okay, what do I do here? I'm telling you, go back in, get involved.
Yeah, but they don't look...
Join the DOGE committee.
They don't look sane right now and rational. They look like the kids that are on the streets trying to break into a government building.
Like Columbia.
And it just doesn't look like they're members of Congress trying to get things done. And also, do you think you guys have course corrected since the election? You've done nothing different. You're doubling down on the same mess. Right. All the stuff that we heard throughout the campaign, it's the same things that you guys are screaming. Adjust your message. I actually want a competent Democratic Party. I think competition is great. You want strong Democrats, strong Republicans, and let them duke it out about the issue.
I saw the AOC called Elon Musk the dumbest billionaire she's ever met. It's fantastic for a bartender from Queens to call the billionaire the richest man in the world.
Westchester.
That's certainly special.